So first off, Cal-OSHA recommends that employers follow the CDC interim guidelines for businesses and employers. And I would highly recommend, if you haven't already, to consult with that. It contains a lot of good information. And under Cal-OSHA, one of the regulations requires employers to have in place a written illness and injury prevention program, and you need to have one in place for COVID-19. And I'm sure everyone has already been planning for this, has taken action, and I have no doubt that many of the things that we're going to be talking about today you have already implemented, and that's a good thing. So make sure you put in writing what your plan is. This isn't necessarily something that you have to share with your workforce. And in putting together the plan, do an assessment of your exposure to risks in the workplace. Your plan should then you should implement the items in your plan to minimize or reduce the spread of COVID-19. And this again is going to be all based on your operations and looking at the CDC recommendations, the state and local guidelines and orders. Take from that what is appropriate for your operations and incorporate it into your plan, and then train your employees on how they can help reduce the spread of the virus. Then also part of your hazard assessment, be sure to determine what type of personal protective equipment is appropriate for your operations. Now with the Los Angeles County guidelines and all the other guidelines, actually a Los Angeles County order and guidelines by the state, the CDC, OSHA, face masks are standard for essential operators. So look to see what else might be needed given your operations. If you need gloves, if you need anything further, also be sure to provide training and material to your employees on how to maintain and wear and properly care for and dispose of any of the PPE that you end up using. Regardless of COVID-19, employers are always required to provide to washing facilities and have adequate supplies for good hygiene and cleansing. So that's a given.
And we're getting some questions, and we had this before a lot too, but questions coming in already. What if it's just impossible to get the proper PPP at this point? What's an employer to do in that regard, and what are some of the regulations we're seeing from Cal-OSHA and OSHA on that front?
Well, I would recommend that you document all your efforts and be diligent and follow up, because if there is a complaint, if Cal-OSHA comes in and wants to inspect and wants to know why you don't have the materials, document in writing, the suppliers you've contacted, what you've done, provide invoices, be diligent in that, because it's mandatory now that you've got to have those supplies and do your best wherever possible. So if, for example, masks aren't available, we have one client who went out and purchased bandanas. You have to do your best under the circumstances, and Cal-OSHA is taking into consideration good faith efforts of the employers to comply, and finding alternative ways to comply is going to be deemed to be in good faith.
Yep, great.